नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम 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 नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की
जय
जय। Okay, so what was the last section or the verse we were discussing in our last discussion? Anyone remembers?
I think 3.9.
Okay, everyone, 3.9. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, that's right.
Okay, so that is the first section of Bhagavad Gita. First section of chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. So we discussed how the chapter 3 starts, where Arjun is still not clear on two major aspects. Which ones are those? One is the Buddhi Yoga, and the second one is Karma. Correct? So he is not sure what is Buddhi Yoga, what is Buddhi Yoga, and what is Karma. What does he think according to his understanding? The reason why he's not clear and Krishna has to explain him. What does he think about Buddhi Yoga and Karma? Anyone?
Vishaka, you're on mute.
Sorry. Arjun thinks that giving up his prescribed duties and the ways of living, and by just praying to God, chanting the names of the Lord, is Bhakti Yoga. Sorry, yeah, Buddhi Yoga.
Okay. So Arjun's understanding is that you give away
Give up
all your
everything
work,
and
which
just
is karma,
yes,
and only devote yourself into reading and understanding and meditating on the Vedic Shastras, or about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or about your spiritual process, is something called as Buddhi. What does Krishna explain him with respect to Buddhi and Karma?
Krishna tells him that Karma Yoga is equally important because you are born as a Kshatriya. So doing your prescribed duties is equally important.
So did Krishna speak about Karma Yoga or Karma?
Karma.
Okay.
He speaks about the karma of Arjun as a Kshatriya.
Okay. So which verse and what is the explanation till we reach 3.9? So from what verse did Krishna start speaking, and till what verse did he continue to explain him about the difference?
3.3, he started speaking.
So what were the key elements of 3.3?
He says there are two types of men. One
Mhm.
who realize themselves by doing karma, and one going through the analytical way of understanding by using their brain, that by understanding step by step.
So one understand it, self-realized by karma.
Yeah.
Did he say by karma?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Or did he say karma yoga?
Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga.
Now, so now there is a key which I would like to ask you. What is karma and what is karma yoga, which is the title of this chapter?
Karma is doing your prescribed duties, and Karma Yoga is, in my opinion, or what Krishna says, it's uniting devotional service along with karma is Karma Yoga.
Very nice. Yeah. So if you understand karma and yoga, then you will understand Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga.
So understanding karma and understanding yoga, just the basic understanding. So what is karma?
It's doing any action.
Okay. So any action is karma, correct? Any other aspect of karma?
Your prescribed duties.
Your prescribed duties. Okay. What are prescribed duties?
But in Shastra, what's doing are para dharma and para dharma.
Okay. So what is what is prescribed duty? Is it apara dharma or para dharma?
It is a combination of both.
Okay. So is that a clear understanding, or is there something else to it about prescribed duties? What are your prescribed duties? Say, for example.
I think in this world and age, we don't have Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishnavas, and Vaishyas and Shudras.
Okay.
But I think largely everybody is considered to be of the working class.
Okay.
So our prescribed duty is to earn our means of living by working.
Okay. So because there is no proper understanding or description of varna, which
In
is
today's
Brahman,
world.
Vaishya, so it's very hard to identify. Identify who?
Identify your varna.
Ourselves.
Ourselves. Very good.
Ourselves.
Not identifying others. Huh? So identifying our own self as what are we is very hard. So how do we identify in case, if we have to? What are the key aspects we identify with? We had discussed this around this chapter.
What feels like it's our calling?
Calling.
Calling. Like, what are we passionate about?
Nature of the person.
Okay.
Swabhava.
What kind of work
Okay.
resonates with us?
Okay.
With us?
So there is competence. We are good at something.
Mm.
And what is the other bit? Is our nature, the liking, the inclination about doing something. So there is something which we are good at, and there is something that is what we like to do. So two different things. We don't know our own selves until we try and find out. That's how today's world is, right? You don't know what is your competence, what your skills are until you try and find out. You try many things and then you find out, okay, I'm good at this, and then you start pursuing that. But that may not be something which you like to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, yes?
Yep.
So there is nature, the liking of doing something, and then there is this. But Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra were of different, they, or at the time when the Varna was properly in the Vedic times, basically, everybody was brought up as a Brahman, not by his birth, but by his actions and work, his nature. So even someone who was born in, say, Shudra's house, by nature he would be a Brahman, and he will be automatically coming up as Brahman. And there are many cases like that. But unfortunately, over the period of time in Kali Yuga, which we are in, it's very hard, very difficult to understand someone's nature by its own. So that's why we have competence. That's how we actually start working. What is competence? Competence is when you compete. That means when you are same task given to 10 different people, you are the best among that, you are competent, and that's why you get a job. Correct?
Yes.
Simple, right? But that may not be your nature.
Hmm.
So you may be identifying yourself based on your competence, but then you might be getting confused. Oh, no, actually, I'm not good at that. I'm good at something else. And then that's where your nature comes out and tells you, maybe you should try this. So what we actually do, but as per Bhagavad Gita, if someone picks up something by his nature and builds competence in that, then he's a very successful person. And to identify our nature, you need your spiritual practice. That's where we lack. And then slowly, over a period of time, when we continue with the spiritual practice, we try to identify our nature. Unfortunately, it is late sometimes. Some people pick up very early. So that's where the understanding of Bhagavad Gita is very important. So never too late, but we always try to. So this is the karma part of it. What is yoga? So karma, so I'll come back to karma. So actions, this is how we act. But there are different understanding of karma. There are 4 different understanding of karma. One is the action which you do. Second is the reaction which you get. That is also called as karma. बोलते हैं ना, मेरे कर्म थे जो आ गए मेरे पास वापस. Yeah, that is understanding that I received some reaction. What are people around you? When you meet certain people, you coordinate with certain people, and you work with certain people, you get a job and you are in a team, you're out of that team. When you are somewhere else in an association with someone, then you detach with that association. You go into who are all these? What is all that? So people, circumstances, events, what are all this happening in your life? Nothing but the reactions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Simple understanding. We'll go into depth later.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense so far? It's all the reactions. That's why they say you don't get angry on people because they're nothing but the reactions of your karma. You don't get upset, you don't get angry. It's just happening as a reaction. If that understanding is developed, then there is much more clarity in doing some action. So action, reaction is also karma. Good karma, doing some good activities like helping others, doing some charity. Those things, they are also karma. Good karma. Good karma is also karma. And there is bad karma. That is also karma. So there are different understanding of karma. When someone says karma, you go a little deeper and ask what is that person's perception about karma, because it has variety of meanings. Correct? So when we say karma, it is very broad, very broad. So now we come to yoga. Yoga is much more broad. Okay.
You
So
said
when we
there's
say
4 types of karma.
Yeah.
Action, reaction,
good karma, bad karma.
and good karma, bad karma.
Actually,
This is the
akarma,
understanding of
akarma.
someone. Yeah, akarma or vikarma, as we call it. So
Okay.
they are also karma.
Hmm.
When someone says karma, someone says like that. But what is he trying to say about the karma? Is he thinking about a reaction, or is he thinking of the action? Is he thinking about a good karma? Is he thinking about a bad karma? We don't know. So it's very broad. So it has to be understood by going a little more deeper. Yeah. So yeah. Unfortunately, people don't have time nowadays. So when you ask a couple of more questions, hey, don't go too much deep. I'm okay. Okay. So whatever you think, so it's your understanding, not mine. That's how generally the things builds. But as per Bhagavad Gita, there are 4 different varieties of understanding of karma. Okay. Anyways, we'll move forward. Yes. Hare Krishna. Yes,
कृष्ण
Kalpesh.
प्रभु जी,
Yeah.
जब खुद की लगी रहती है ना, तो लोग कहते हैं कि भगवान मेरी परीक्षा ले रहा है, और जब दूसरे की लगती है ना, तो बोलते कर्मों के फल मिल रहे हैं उसके.
वो ठीक है. That is because we are self-obsessed. That's what we are coming to today. So we will come to that part as well of understanding the yoga ladder. We have to touch that part. Hopefully we do. That is where this point will come up, that how people actually perceive. So there is self, and then there is the more understanding. So there are 2 ways of looking at it. So there are people who carry a mirror, the people who carry a glass. What's the difference?
Mirror
where
you
they
see
just
yourself, glass you see through.
Yeah. So when you carry a mirror, you try to find out what is wrong with me. Let me improve that. When you carry a glass, you see wrong in everyone. सब साले गलत हैं, मैं ही सही हूँ. Sorry. So you try to, carry a mirror first, and then you can observe others. That's intelligence. That is buddhi. Judging may not be a good idea, because that may, not give you a good perception, because that's everything. That is with clarity. The clarity is should be based on observation, not on judgment. That's what we generally tend to make mistakes. But that's where Bhagavad Gita comes into. Once we cross over a certain area of Bhagavad Gita, we start getting on the yoga ladder, then we will have much more clarity on being more intelligent, pushing our buddhi in action rather than mind or something else. Okay. So intelligence is the key. But to use the intelligence, you have to get the clarity first of how do you read. So there are not prerequisites to be understood first. So karma yoga. So karma is understood now briefly. What is yoga?
Means doing that karma with full intent, like knowing what you are doing and then putting your controlling all your not
Senses.
the senses also.
Okay. Okay. So regulating yourself, is that what you're saying? Regulating yourself. Okay.
Yes.
That's it. So anyone else on yoga? Good point. Thank you.
union with
Union.
God.
Union with God. So union with God. That
Yoga is
means
to connect, right? Connect with the Supreme.
very nice. Yeah, that is a very important aspect. So yoga word comes from the word yujana. Yujana is to connect. So connect, but with whom? When you say yoga, connection with the Supreme. So when you are in yoga, you are doing action, but you are not trying to satisfy only your own self. It is not bad to satisfy yourself, but that is not your primary goal, only to satisfy yourself. Okay, let me explain. So if someone, so there are certain aspects in which we work. So we work, we earn, we buy, and we enjoy. That's the trend, right? You work hard, then we buy what we want. Sorry, we work hard and we earn as much as possible, and then we buy things, for our own self, correct? And then we enjoy. This is the general trend. So that understood that as I'm bringing enjoyment to myself, satisfaction. This will give me satisfaction. This is the perception, not the actuals, but this is how we understand life, correct? This is what we do. We work, we earn, we buy, and we enjoy. This is the trend every time, So buying can be anything, not just food. It can be travel. It can be, anything that you feel, you think that you get satisfaction with. That's what is. So this is the trend which goes on. So when we are only doing this for our own sake, what is that? This is called bhoga. Okay, that is anything I do, what is there for me, the first part. Now, it's not bad to think that, but if it is the only part, then it becomes bhoga. Is it making sense? So it is not wrong to work and earn for yourself and buy things for yourself. It's not wrong. But if that is the only goal of your life, that means you are a bhogi.
अगर वो आप अपने फैमिली के लिए भी कर रहे हैं तो भी वो भोगी है, because you are doing it for your own family.
Family is nothing but an extension of your own self.
Yes, yes. So अगर आप कहते हो कि मैंने किसी के लिए कुछ किया तो वो किसी के लिए नहीं है, बिकॉज अपने मन की शांति के लिए किया, अपने लिए किया, तो वो अपने लिए ही है.
Very nice. Very nice
Otherwise,
point.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So when that, so it is not wrong. It is correct. It is always, admirable that you are working hard and trying to get things for yourself and your family. It's not bad. But if that is your only thing in your life, यही main purpose है आपकी life का,
हाँ.
then that is termed as bhoga.
Mhm.
That is not yoga. So yoga is when you think beyond that. Okay, we will come to that point also after 3.9. So yoga is to think beyond your own self and trying to connect with some supreme.
Mm.
That there is something else which I should try and connect to apart from me.
Mm.
There you take over the yoga. So that becomes action, karma, and yoga. That means you are doing work, but you are not just self-centered. You're not just doing for your own self or your, closed ones. Is it making sense so far?
Yes.
So karma, yoga.
Or
Okay.
is it we can say without expecting any result out of it?
Oh,
अगर आप
that is nishkama karma yoga. That is a
next.
higher aspect or the advanced karma yoga.
Okay.
Before that, there are many aspects of karma which we will cover as we go. Yeah. So when Krishna is talking about karma yogena yoginam, he is talking about that process when you actually come out of your self-satisfaction with material objects or things. That's when you start on the path of self-realization. Because then you are not only looking outside, now you are starting to look inside. That is called adhyatma. Okay. So when you do that, that's so this 3.3 verse is for those people. He says that when there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. So what is the word that is for that self-realization here? Asmin dvidha nishtha, faith. Pura formally were said that jnana yogin. So jnana yogena sankhya nam, that people in self-realization, they take two different paths. One is jnana yoga and one is karma yoga. So Krishna, first of all, he gives an index. He doesn't give you in detail. So if we try to understand the full meaning from 3.3, we will not understand. We have to get the gist of it. Okay, because he will explain what is karma yoga. There's a whole chapter on karma yoga. And there's a whole chapter on jnana yoga. There's a whole chapter on dhyana yoga. There are series of verses coming next. So here, just getting the gist that there are two people who are away from self-centeredness. That is, they don't think the only goal of life is satisfying your own self. They're just going little above that. Those people who are on that self-realization path, they take two different paths. One is jnana yoga, one is karma yoga. That is all he's saying. What is jnana yoga? Jnana yoga means analyzing, philosophical. And others, they are called Sankhyanam, empiric philosophers, who would just philosophize everything and analyze everything. But the second ones are trying to actually act with yoga. Okay, this is all he's saying. Next, what he says after that. What is it? 3.4. He's continuing on karma. Okay, not by merely abstaining from work one can achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. We discussed this also, that both are important, not just one. Yeah. So abstaining from work, you cannot achieve freedom. Nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So karma is also important, jnana is also important. But how do you balance and convert it into karma yoga is the art, which he'll explain. Is it making sense so far? Yeah. Everyone, 3.4 and 3.5, everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing anything, something, not even for a moment. So you cannot avoid karma. Even if you say give up everything, all your property, all your money, or your family, everything, and you go and live in a secluded place, if your mind is still thinking about all those things, you are still working. And you're working with them. It's better you go and stay and work with them. That is not renunciation. Okay. So no one can actually stop working even for a moment. For that, you have to be on a different level, which he'll explain later. So everyone has to act. Karma is important. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on senses, that's what we discussed, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. That is 3.6. Just get the gist of it. Nothing deep, very simple. So if someone who's telling that I'm not working, I don't, I'm fully renounced, but still trying to satisfy himself by doing sense gratification or doing whatever he wants to satisfy his own senses, is a pretender. Observe and learn. Okay, so we shouldn't try to renounce until we understand what is renunciation. Okay, so reading Bhagavad Gita or chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra or starting on a spiritual journey is not renunciation. That's what people understand, incorrectly. It's a wrong perception that ये भगवत गीता शुरू कर दिया पढ़ना, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र कर दिया, ये साधु बन गया, ये सन्यासी बन रहा है. So this is general tendency, which is completely incorrect. They don't understand what is renunciation. It's a quite deep concept. Okay, so this is only that you are starting on the path of self-realization. That's where the thing. You are curious, jigyasa. Okay, what is 3.7? Yeah. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga, without attachment, he is far superior. What is attachment? Attachment to satisfy your own senses. Okay, satisfying your senses is not wrong, but being attached to satisfying your senses is wrong. Does it make sense? Do you understand the difference? I'll give you an example. Say, for example, you are very fond of eating meat. Okay, and what happens is that you think that no, it's time for me to give up because it's wrong. You just somehow feel that it's wrong, I shouldn't be eating meat, for example. And then what happens is that you give up 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months, and suddenly there is a social get-together meeting, and there they have cooked varieties of meat in front of you. There you cannot hold yourself and you go and eat it, and then you realize afterwards, oh man, this is attachment to something because your senses are attached to it. You are not able to give it up because you don't have control over it. Yeah, that is one thing. And doing this, that is, you ate something and then you progressively think that, okay, I should try and give up, say, for example, this non-vegetarian food. I'm eating, say, 6 times in a week. I'll make it 4 times in a week. That's intelligent. Now you started using your buddhi. You're going on the path of actually giving up. So you're planning on that path because that is easier than just forcing yourself, because you realized that I can't force myself because as soon as something comes in front of me, I'm uncontrollable. That is called attachment. So Krishna says that a sincere person tries to control the active senses. This is how you control the active senses. This is sincerity. Sincerity is not that you force yourself. No. Sincerity is when you use your intelligence, your buddhi, to actually give up your anarthas. Does it make sense? So when you sincerely do that, an active sense is by the mind. Because you started from the mind. You tell yourself, no, I'm eating, that's fine, but I should maybe reduce it. So I have a neighbor here who smokes about 3 packs of cigarette in a day.
Mhm.
He's trying to give up. Okay, so he was talking to me, and somehow it happened so that it, because he has studied Bhagavad Gita when he was in the university. He's from Germany. In Germany, they have Bhagavad Gita in their syllabus. So he quoted a few verses which were really impressive. And he quoted a few verses while smoking cigarettes because he's a chain smoker. He's constantly smoking and saying Bhagavad Gita. It was very, what do you call, I can only imagine how Srila Prabhupada was dealing with druggies when he was, advocating Bhagavad Gita at that time. So when I heard it from him while he was smoking, although the smoke was coming in my mouth, but I was still trying to hear what he was saying, he said a few things which were really touching. He said, I'm trying to give up, but I need to use my intelligence to use it. I think you got Bhagavad Gita's verses. You got it. He said, I'm smoking 3 packs in a day, and I'm trying to give up and make it 2.5 packs. I think that's the way to go, man. I think you might be able to achieve it. So he's down to 2 packs now. I spoke to him about a couple of months ago. So maybe in a year or 2, he'll be able to achieve what he's trying to quit smoking. And that is regulating yourself by your active senses, by the mind, and begins without attachment. Now, this is very important, that attachment is something which is uncontrollable, so even if you are doing wrong, you feel it right. It is called attachment. So for example, I'll give you, if you're attached to someone, some person, too much attached to someone, yeah, even if that person does wrong, you feel it right. That is attachment. But if you are a sensible relative or a sensible associate of that person, you will tell him that no, you're doing it wrong. Please correct yourself. That is a proper well-wisher. Okay? Correct? With me? So the example is given in Mahabharata. Dhritarashtra was attached to Duryodhan. So constantly Duryodhan went on doing wrong things, but he couldn't say anything to him because he was attached. Moha. The word is very sweet in Sanskrit. It's a very little word. Moha is attachment. So we have to be careful of moha. Try to identify that. What are we attached to? And only then we will be able to practice in coming on. Is it making sense? It's a very powerful verse, this one. Next he says, perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. So better do what you're supposed to do rather than not working and still being attached to your senses and trying to satisfy them by whatever means you get. Okay, it's better you do your prescribed duty. 3.8. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. Correct, right? Very simple. So he gives all basic understanding, and suddenly in 3.9 he gives a very high understanding. So this is where we concluded last time. I just gave you a prelude. So what is 3.9? Yagyarthat karmano anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. Anyone wants to read the translation?
Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way, you will always remain free from bondage.
So this is a very high understanding. Krishna is just throwing a food for thought. Nothing to implement straight away, because very hard to actually implement that whatever I do should be done for the pleasure of Krishna. This is a very high understanding. ये अगर कर दिया, you are top of your consciousness. It's very easy said than actually done. बोलने के लिए बहुत सिंपल है. Work done as for the pleasure of Vishnu. ये करो सब ठीक हो जाएगा. ये होता नहीं है. How will you work for the pleasure of Vishnu? कैसे करोगे? ऑफिस में जाके काम करोगे, कैसे प्लेजर के लिए करो? ये डाइजेस्ट करना बहुत मुश्किल है. That's why we have to go in understanding this from the basics. That's why we have to climb इसके बाद immediately from 3.10. So this is the first section of chapter 3, which is about Tyaga. So the whole chapter 3 is based on an acronym as we will go forward. TREE. I think we did that last time, right? So 3.1 till 3.9 is the first letter of that acronym, which is T, which means Tyaga or sacrifice. So Krishna is throwing a concept, work done as a sacrifice to Vishnu. Sacrifice is painful? Yes or no?
Not necessarily.
Very nice.
If you're
Anyone?
doing it willingly,
Yeah,
there's no pain.
very good. Anyone thinks sacrifice is painful?
Yes, Prabhu.
Of course it is.
Very
Yes.
painful.
Yes, you are right. But is this the sacrifice we are talking about? Painful sacrifice? What is
Materially, Prabhu, painful, right?
what is a painful sacrifice? You tell me. I gave up alcohol, say for example, and tomorrow there is a party at my friend's house. Oh man, I'm missing out all bloody good drinks. He's got best of all the imported drinks. This is painful sacrifice. Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhu. When we are
Yes.
attached to something and we have to sacrifice it materially, then yes.
Is that so? It is not termed as sacrifice, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right.
It is called pretendance. I'm
Mhm.
trying to sacrifice, just showing that I'm sacrificing. Actually not. Actually not. That's called pretendance. Try to avoid that. Reality. Yes, Kalpesh.
Probably this is a real incident from last week. Actually, I happened to meet my friend after a long time, 15, 16 years. Like maybe even more than that. So, we used to drink like anything in North Sydney. He used to live like in front of Harbour Bridge and all. वो मुझे मिल गया, and then he goes like, कल्पेश चल पब में जाते करके, and he knew me ना, यार full blast आदमी है करके ये. तो मैंने बोला नहीं, मेरे को I don't know, I don't like that energy at all. वो बस ऐसे देख रहा है, ठीक है घर पे चल. तो घर पे गया ना, तो उसने बियर खोल दिया थड़ाथड़. तो मैंने बोला यार मेरे को, मैं मैं नहीं एंजॉय करता अभी ये सब बातें ना. तो मैंने बोला नहीं, मुझे ड्राइव करना है. मैंने वो थोड़ा अलग है ना, तो मैंने उसको बोला यार ड्राइव करना है क्या, एक ले दो लेना, नहीं लेना ही नहीं है करके ना, ऐसे नहीं मुझे अभी टेस्ट नहीं है, ट्यूसडे है वेडनेसडे से कुछ तो भी बोल के मैंने उसको ना बोल दिया. देन वी स्पेंड लाइक 1 hour 2 hour चिट चैटिंग. ही वाज लाइक, अरे अभी तो पी लेना। मैंने बोला मैंने पिया ना। तो बोला कैसे? मुझे लगा कि मुझे पीना चाहिए, लेकिन मुझे नहीं, लेकिन मैं पिएगा नहीं। So I still felt like I have drank without touching it.
Very nice. So there are three actually stages when you are trying to give up any of your anartha. You can call it anartha or bad habit or whatever habit you call it. It's up to you how you term it. That it starts from the senses, and then it's the mind, and then it's mitigated almost to nil. So senses is the difficult part, because that's where, if there is, the senses are uncontrolled, when you have any material object, or uncontrolled, that you can't control your senses, you take any wrong decisions of consuming something or doing that, they're beyond your control, then it's very hard to come out of that. Then you need a lot of practice, you need a lot of buddhi and planning in order to, if you are interested to give up. Okay, senses is the main part. So this is where an example from from Mahabharata actually comes. So Duryodhan was very it is said that people always perceive that Duryodhan was a very good person, but it was Shakuni who made him evil. He created a lot of poison in his mind, and he did that. But the first conspiracy to kill the Pandavas, that was Bhim, was actually initiated by Duryodhan himself during his childhood. So no one actually told him to do anything, but he put poison in Bhim's food. So you imagine a young kid putting poison in someone's food to kill that person, kill that kid. There is something wrong with the kid itself. Okay, so Duryodhan had that kind of a mentality. So he was always jealous, basically. Jealousy, we will cover that sometime later. Another very difficult emotion to handle with. But he was jealous of the Pandavas, and he always tried to basically kill them, and never felt, happy in any of the things which they did. Just always, angry or upset when something happened with them. So they gave them Khandav Prastha, and there was a Vibhajan of Hastinapur and the Rajyas. They gave them Khandava Prastha, which was a barren land. But with the help of Krishna, Pandavas made that Khandava Prastha into Indraprastha. Indraprastha was very beautiful, better than Hastinapur, such that the eminent citizens of Hastinapur were actually emigrating from Hastinapur to Indraprastha. It was like getting a permanent residency visa from here, applying and getting there. Very difficult to go to Indraprastha, and they were somehow managing to go there. That was the prominence of Indraprastha, and that made Duryodhan furious, was angry. And on top of that, what happened was Yudhishthir made a very nice palace for him own self with the help of Mayasura. It was like a magical, palace where everything was magical. Like, in today's times, they're very high, robotic or AI based, completely modern. So the wrong thing that Duryodhan always did was that the things which he was angry with or upset with, anarthas would come out while looking at it, he always pushed himself in front of those. So instead of just going and visiting the yagya which Yudhishthir had organized after setting up the palace in Indraprastha, he stayed a bit longer there to see all the celebrations. But that would put fire in his, more fuel in his, anger. And after that, he took a service there, and the service was very amazing. He took the service of accepting all the gifts that Yudhishthir got. So he was the person of receiving all the gifts for Yudhishthir. And Yudhishthir got world's best gifts from all the different, kings around the world. So Duryodhana was furious, very angry on this. So imagine if you are trying to give up alcohol. So Kalpesh gave a very good example. But imagine if someone who's trying to give up alcohol, but he goes into a party and takes the service of a bartender. That's not intelligence, right? At any point you might get. So they say that go to the cliff, but don't fall. That's not possible. Drink, but don't get drunk. Be social. It's okay to drink, but don't get drunk. People don't see people who get drunk in parties or something in a very, with a good eye. They see them at, non-social, not so social people. But it's okay to drink during the party. So why to take that? So you wouldn't put yourself into that position where you have to be, you'd surrender for your senses. It's a very good example. I just thought I'll share this from Mahabharata. So this is where the senses come into picture. And then it is the mind. So we start with the senses, try to detach with intelligence, and then we manage our mind, because the thoughts of that will trouble us afterwards. And that's where the mantra comes into picture to handle the mind. Manastrayate iti mantra. To cleanse the mind, you have to use the mantra. Okay. So yeah, that's the next step. So 3.9, what Krishna says that yagyarthat karmano anyatra. So when you do work done as a sacrifice to Vishnu. So when you sacrifice, so when you are now, why are we doing all these things? Why am I giving up alcohol? Why am I giving up non-vegetarian food? If that purpose is higher in your mind, if that is a very top priority purpose in your mind, then this sacrifice will be not painful. It will be just another thing you are doing, a routine thing you're doing. Okay. Say for example, Ekadashi Vrata. It's very hard to keep yourself away from the food. But I've seen people, devotees, who enjoy Ekadashi because the devotion for doing it for Krishna, for doing it for Vishnu is so high that actually they don't feel, that they are giving up something. They are not eating for the whole day. They don't feel it. I have a very close friend of mine who maintains Ekadashi Vrata pretty much every Ekadashi Vrata. And he doesn't eat anything. He just drinks water. Except for one Ekadashi, which is Nirjala Ekadashi, which comes in July. But all the Ekadashis doesn't eat food. I'm very difficult for me. I can't do that. But he is happy doing it. So I pray for him whenever, I think that he needs this. But he said, I wouldn't pray for asking something. I will just pray that my devotional service is active. This is his naturally. He's come on. So there are people like that, sacrifice, but it is the Tyaga is more of a service, natural service, out of love they carry out. So that is the highest form of sacrifice which Krishna is talking about. But if it is possible, why not? But if it is not possible, don't stress on it. Don't worry about it. There are things to be understood before that, which is the yoga letter. Coming up in the next verse, 3.10. But before we climb the yoga ladder, I would tell you a story. Not a story actually. This is an experiment done on the monkeys. Did we discuss this? Experiment on the monkeys?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
5 monkeys put in a room.
Correct. Yes. 5 monkeys put in a room. I'll quickly just recap. 5 monkeys put in a room with a ladder on top. You kept bananas. Okay. And it was such that any monkey who tries to get the bananas from the top of the ladder, the whole room will be showered on all the monkeys with cold water. Sharp shower, just like the fire brigade throws. On all the monkeys. So one monkey tried to go up, everyone was showered. Second monkey tried to, everyone was showered. Over a period of time, they gave up and they stood down. After that, any monkey who tried to go up, he was pulled down by the others. Okay. After that, nobody tried. Now what happened was they took out one monkey and they got a fresh new monkey into the room. So out of 5, 4 were the old ones, 1 was new. So the new monkey saw the bananas, very excited, when 4 monkeys ran, pulled him down and beat him up very badly, such that he didn't try after that. Slowly and slowly, they replaced all the monkeys with all 5 fresh new monkeys. Now, all these 5 new monkeys who never had any drop of shower on them, but they didn't even try to climb because it became a protocol that we are not supposed to climb this to get the bananas. Not supposed to do anything. That's generally the misperception or the wrong perception people have about yoga ladder, that we should not climb this yoga ladder. If we take this, then we won't be able to achieve the results any which ways, but there'll be a lot of problems which will come on us. That's why we should not take up to any spiritual process, but that's completely wrong. So we will go on to that same ladder, start with the flat bottom on the floor, which is called Bhauma Sukha. Okay, the Sukha or the satisfaction of the senses only. Okay, so the same concept comes in here, which we discussed before: work, earn, spend, and enjoy. This is the general principle. So you'll see books in the market, 100 ways of becoming a millionaire, 7 steps for becoming a successful businessman, certain things, what rich people do which they don't teach others. All these kind of books in the market. You'll see the concept is that you work hard, you spend, so you earn as much as you can, spend, and you enjoy. That's the understanding, basic understanding. That's called Bhauma Sukha. There is no understanding of anything else but completely self-motivated, done by own self and self-centered and self-satisfaction. That's it. It is not in today's times we are reading these books. This is happening from thousands of years. So there was a person called Charvak. If you Google up, you will find this, Charvak. So Charvak had all these Sanskrit verses, his own Shastras, where he would explain that even if you do not have money, take credit, but do not eat less than ghee. Always live life to the fullest. Life will end very soon. Who has seen life after this life? So better enjoy your fullest. Isn't this something what we have heard in today's world? So let me tell you, it's not new. This is from thousands of years. There are Sanskrit verses on that, and people follow that. There is nothing after that. So this is called Bhauma Sukha. So this is not even the first step of the ladder, of the yoga ladder. It is the ground. Okay. Now we will just touch one step above, wherein we change one, or we take out one aspect out from the 4, which is work, earn, buy or spend, enjoy. In that, spend and or buy is taken off. So you work, you earn, but instead of this, you actually leave this part to the prayer of the Supreme. You think that start understanding or going a bit deeper. I'll give you an example. Have you heard about Sant Tukaram? Sant Tukaram, he was basically a zamidar before he actually became a saint. A zamidar, a jeweler, or whatever you call it. So he had a lot of wealth. Okay, but what happened? I'm just telling you a brief about it, but this is what happened in his life, how he actually turned to Vishnu, how he actually became a pure devotee of the Lord. So he had all the wealth. He used to actually give money on interest, just like a bank. He would take someone's jewelry or utensils and he'll give out money and charge interest. So he was like the, Seth, as we call it in those times. He was a big merchant as well. But what happened once, that in his village, there was a, drought, a severe drought, not only in his village, but the villages and towns surrounding his village. So the whole area, I would say the big area around it, was suffering from drought. There was not a single drop of rain, and there was no crop, so there was no food. Now, he had all the wealth. He had gold, he had silver. He took all that gold and went to surrounding villages everywhere to find out food. Somehow, he got some food from somewhere by giving away kilos and kilos of jewelry, gold. And he got just handful of grains, which he just brought home. And everyone in his house just jumped onto those grains and eating. Now, if you ask a child in today's times, where do rice or where does wheat come from? What will he say? He'll say from supermarket, right? Isn't it? Where do you get it from the shop? But where does the grain actually come from? Grains actually come from the plants, from the soil. So seeds are sown. And what is the main factor of getting us the grains? It's the rain. Yeah, rain and the sunlight. Otherwise, no grains. What would we do with the money? So when you go into the depth of your survival, then the consciousness starts changing. And the first step over that is that I am not the one who's actually maintaining myself. There is some higher power who's maintaining me. And that understanding takes you to the first ladder. First rung of that ladder. Rung all the steps, okay? Rung are all the steps of the ladder. So that's the second acronym in the tree, TR, that is rungs. So going to the first rung of the ladder is Karma Kanda. What is Karma Kanda? Karma Kanda is still self-motivated, still self-centered, work, earn, but enjoyment which we have, receiving the satisfaction, is based on the thought and the understanding that there is some supreme power whom I should look up to. That's why you have all the puja, doing all the yajna and doing all those things in order to receive gains. So that is the next step in the yoga ladder. The first step actually in the yoga ladder, which is Karma Kanda. So we'll just jump on quickly to understand the concept which I've given you. What Krishna explains exactly the same thing. We jump on to the verse, chapter 3, verse 14. Please recite after me, and then we will go through all the other verses as well. I'll share my screen with you quickly. You want to see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Annad bhavanti bhutani
Annat bhavanti bhutani
parjanyad anna sambhavah
parjanyat anna sambhavah
yajnad bhavati parjanyo
yajnat bhavati parjanyo
yajna karma samudbhavah
yajna karma samudbhavah
annad bhavanti bhutani
annat bhavanti bhutani
parjanyad anna sambhavah
parjanyat anna sambhavah
yajnad bhavati parjanyo
yajnat bhavati parjanyo
yajna karma samudbhavah
yajna karma samudbhavah
annad bhavanti bhutani
annat bhavanti bhutani
parjanyat anna sambhavah
parjanyat anna sambhavah
yagyad bhavati parjanyo
Yagyat
bhavati parjanyo
yajna karma samudbhavah.
yajna karma samudbhavah.
Anyone want to read the translation?
all living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna or sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties.
So simple, isn't it? That's what Bhagavad Gita says. All living bodies subsist on food grains. So what does these big companies do? Microsoft, Oracle, technical big companies, billionaires, Facebooks. Do they produce grains? Can they produce grains?
No.
Can they feed us? Can $1 billion give us food?
No.
No, they can't. So this is what Krishna is explaining, that we actually subsist on food grains. And food grains, they come from rains. And the rains come from the yajna. So someone in the world is doing the yajna. That's why you're getting rains. And with the rains, you are surviving. So even the meat eaters, they cannot have meat without grains. Even the animals they eat, they're sustaining on grains. Every animal which is a form of the meat is sustaining on grains. Milk sustained on grains. Cows eat grass and you get milk. So that grass comes from rains. The source of everything is nothing but yajna. Okay. So the understanding, slowly getting into that, you go one step above in understanding what is karma kanda. So there are multiple kanda after that. That is karma kanda. Then you have jnana kanda. Then you have upasana kanda. But the first understanding is karma kanda. Okay. So we'll end our discussion here today. There is quite a few things for you to process. Any questions or comments, please ask. No questions? All understood? Very nice. Okay. So we'll end our discussion here. We'll see you all next week, Sunday. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.